Hello and welcome to another edition of the Constellations. This is for the month of January 2021, and we are going to look at the dominant constellation, probably the entire sky, Orion the Hunter. Orion is not easy to mistake. He stands out in the sky. He has two bright stars forming his shoulders. One of them is a bright red star. Three stars below that forming a nearly straight line marking his belt, and then two stars below that forming which would be his foot and knee. The major Greek myths around Orion always suggest that he is a young man of gigantic size and of enormous beauty. He also is considered to be the greatest hunter in the entire world. Certainly he believed that, and he often boasted of it. He was no ordinary mortal. He is generally said to have been the son of Neptune, the Roman god of the sea, or Poseidon, the Greek god of the sea, and of the nymph Uriel. But not always. There are some variations even on that. Now, there are, of course, variations on Orion and his myth. Most versions, though, say that he boasted of his hunting prowess, and that at one point even suggested that he was going to kill every living animal on the earth to demonstrate how good a hunter he was. And you may remember the old proverb, "Pride goeth before the fall." Well, news of this boast reached none other than Gaia, the goddess of the earth. And she decided, being furious as she was going to send out a scorpion to sting and kill Orion. This scorpion would sneak up on Orion and sting him in the heel. The heel was, of course, the greatest source of weakness to the ancient Greeks, as in the Achilles heel. Now, this is where some of the myths kind of vary a bit. One myth says that the scorpion did kill Orion, and that Zeus or Jupiter claimed he was going to immortalize Orion by placing him among the stars, to which Orion begged that he should never have to see or meet his foe again. So Zeus, Jupiter, decided to place the hunter and the scorpion both in the sky, but in completely opposite parts of the sky, so that they could never be seen at the same time. So it is only after Orion sets in the west that the scorpion begins to rise in the southeast, at least as seen from the U.S. Another version of the myth says that the great doctor of the ancient myth, Asclepius, gave Orion an antidote to the scorpion's venom, and that he lived on, at least for a while. And Asclepius became eventually the constellation of Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer, and that he is actually seen in the summer sky with the scorpion, with his foot resting almost on the body of the scorpion, seeming to sort of crush him. And that the fact that Orion rises every night in the winter was actually seen as a result of this antidote to the poison, so that Orion would live again every night. In fact, the ancient Greek symbol for medicine is actually a reference to Ophiuchus and Asclepius, with the serpent and the staff. Now, later on, as part of this second variation, Diana, the goddess of the hunt, was said to have fallen madly in love with Orion, and they fell in love and lived together for a while. But her brother Apollo was extremely jealous. One day, Apollo knew that Orion would be swimming in a river, and he basically teased Diana that she, being the goddess of the hunt, could not hit a little black dot way out there in the water. To which Diana promptly pulled one of her arrows from her quiver and launched it at this black dot. it found its mark, and Orion eventually floated up in the water to Diana's horror. And so, being distraught, Diana begged Zeus, or Jupiter, to place Orion in the night sky as a constellation, and the dominant constellation in the sky nonetheless. Now, Orion has been imagined in many different ways throughout time. Sometimes he is represented facing us, and at other times, at least most of the time, he is usually seen facing away from us, so that he is holding a club in his left hand, and he has a sort of a shield, and we'll put that in quotes, something that looks like a lion's skin in the other hand. And every winter night, Orion and Taurus the bull seem to engage in sort of a battle for dominance, one that Orion will eventually win as the bull appears to retreat backwards in the western part of the sky, eventually setting, followed by Orion. Now, the ancient Egyptians originally saw the father of the gods, Sa, spelled S-A-H, among the stars of Orion, and of Lepus, the hare, just below Orion. Later, these stars actually became associated with Osiris, and the stars of Lepus as a boat Osiris was standing on. Now, Sirius became identified with his loving wife, the goddess Isis. And it was also believed that when Sirius, the dog star, could be seen rising just before the sun in mid-August, that the light and the heat of Sirius was added to that of the sun. And this caused the hot, balmy days of summer. And this is actually where the term the dog days of summer originates from the dog star Sirius. Now, there are some points of interest in Orion, two which really stand out, at least in my mind. One is M42, Messier 42, the great nebula in Orion. It is one of the largest star-forming regions visible in the night sky. And it is visible to the unaided eye as the middle sword. It kind of looks like an unfocused, fuzzy star. The middle star in the sword of Orion. The Hubble Space Telescope has taken some amazing images of M42, including the one that you are seeing now. The other object is known commonly as the Horsehead Nebula. And unlike M42, the Horsehead Nebula is a dark nebula. It is a cloud of gas and dust which resembles the figure of a horse's head, or perhaps a seahorse. You will need a telescope to see this one. It is small, it is faint, but it is a favorite of backyard observers. And of course, the Hubble Space Telescope has taken some amazing images of the Horsehead Nebula as well, both in visible light and also in infrared light. I thank you for joining me for this month's Constellations. Join me again next month for focus on another constellation of the winter sky. I am Kirk Rosberg. Until next month.